Okay, I want to talk about applying styles to form elements. And really, it's the same as any other style, but I want to show you a couple nuances with it. So what I mean by it's the same as any other, if we wanted to, say, change the font style in these text boxes, right? We would just apply it to whatever that element is. In that case, it's an input, right? So that tag is what we want to marry up with the style. I'll show you what I mean, and then I'll show you the nuances. So up here in my style, I can do input. So just like we apply it to a paragraph or a body or whatever, that particular tag is an input, so that's what we want to apply the style to up here. So let's change the font family, and then I'll show you what I mean by the nuances. So I'm going to change it to something that should stand out a little bit. I spelled it correctly. Yeah, so it didn't clear this, but as we can see, the font looks a little different than, say, the default font did, right? So we can apply font size, font family, font color, any of those things to form elements just as we would any other thing in our page. But you might have noticed the nuance. So one nuance, or one thing I want to talk about, is this is also an input element, right? It's an input. It's not a type equals text. It's a type equals submit, but it's still an input. So we also change the font of the text on our button by what we did. So one thing when you're applying styles to forms is you got to keep in mind that a lot of form elements all belong to that input. So the way around that is we can use the class that I've shown you in another video. So let's do that real quick. Let's say for the sake of argument, I didn't want to change this. I only wanted to change the font in my text boxes. So what I could do is assign a class to each of my text box things. If you recall, it goes right in the tag. So I'm going to call it something short like TV for text box. And since I want that to affect all my text boxes but not my button, I'm just going to give that other text box the exact same class name. So then up here, I'll do just the input TBs. And that way it should not apply it to the command button, right? The command button's back to normal, but the font in the text boxes has been changed to something different. So again, because you're working with form elements, some of them are called input, even though they're different things. You might have to use that technique to change some things on your form, but not others. I want to show you one other thing that you can kind of use styles for when you're dealing with forms. So when you're dealing with text boxes, you can resize them, right? So if I wanted to make this larger because it's going to contain an entire address, the way to do that is in the tag of that element. Here's the input type text for that. I could do a size equals with some value in pixels. I don't know, I'll try 40. Right, so that makes the box wider, so to speak. But we can use styles to make the font larger. So regardless of how wide we make that, we can't make it the box taller, so to speak. Right. So to make it wider, we could do size equals. This value is pixels, so you could adjust that to 35 or 50 or whatever you want. To make the boxes taller, we'd have to change the font size to do that. So we can't just say height or something like that. But we can use styles with form elements and do a font size. So let's do that. And I don't know, I'll try 18 pixels. Let's clear these. Right, so not much difference, but that's how I made it sort of larger. And now again, of course, the font's going to be larger in there as well, but to make the text box wider, you can use this. To make it taller, so to speak, it's kind of dependent on the font size of what's going in that box. So to make it taller, and I'll just make it a little bigger, just to make it more dramatic, you could do this to resize your text boxes that way.